And now for our first storyteller, ladies and gentlemen. Madeline Morgan is an inspirational spoken word poet, writer, lyricist, presenter, and trainer. She presents A Course in Miracles each Sunday morning of the month in the month of April at Soderworld Wellness Center in Willowbrook with the owner, Eric Soderholm, who happens to be a former White Sox player. She also conducts a workshop at Soderworld for entrepreneurs called Jumpstart Your Genius. Her early influences were the smooth lyrics of Motown's Smokey Robinson, the whimsical stories and rhyme of Dr. Seuss, and the creative art and clever poetry of Shel Silverstein. Madeline is a self-proclaimed word nerd, and she's got to be heard. Okay. Her true story is called Childhood Sweetheart. Please welcome to the stage, Madeline Morgan.
I love to dance. So when this cute boy reached his hand out and asked me if I would like to dance, I said yes without hesitation. I didn't think about the fact that it was a slow song and he would be putting his arms around me, and he was a stranger to me. This was my first boy-girl party and he was a stranger. He had a wide smile and large, beautiful teeth and kind, gentle eyes. When I placed my hand in his, I felt safe. I smiled back at him. I don't remember which friend's party it was. I don't remember the song we danced to. I don't remember if we introduced ourselves. But I do remember that a voice from the corner of that basement yelled out behind me, "There's only one girl down here. Let's rape her." Oh my God. I felt my dance partner's body stiffen, and he pulled me closer. I could feel him staring into the corner with his body sending a "I wish you would try it" message. We kept dancing in silence, on guard, keeping the threats of the outside world at bay. That voice was Michael Hodges. We went to kindergarten together. My best friend and neighbor, Dara, went to school with Michael, and she had already told me he got a few girls pregnant. My partner and I kept dancing in that slow fashion that a slow dance creates. I could see that Michael was right about one thing. I was the only girl down in the basement. The other girls eventually returned with plates and cups of refreshments. When the music stopped, I went upstairs. I don't remember if I ever came back down again. I was relieved to get my winter coat, get in the car, and get a ride home. I told Dara about it the next day. She asked me who the boy was that I was dancing with. I don't remember if he told me. He was tall, had a great smile. Girl, the party lights were low. I don't remember. I don't know. I thought about the dancer for several weeks, and eventually my attention turned to summer. School was out, and I was in charge of my 3 younger siblings. We washed clothes earlier that day and hung them outside. I grabbed a clothes basket and headed out the front door and around to the clothesline behind the house. When I returned, indoors with the dried clothes, and then I began to fold them, someone knocked at the door. It was a screen door, and I could see a toothy grin through the screen. I started to smile. "Hello," he said. "Cookie told me to come over and talk to you." Then I started to frown. "Do you always do what Cookie tells you?" Well, for weeks I've been telling Cookie about this girl I danced with at the party, but I didn't get her name, I didn't get her number, I don't know where she lives, nothing. Then I look up and see you coming out of this house, and I said, "Hey man, that's her." Cookie said, "That's my neighbor Madeline. Go over there and talk to her." So here I am. "What's your name?" "My name is Stephen." I went outside and sat with Stephen on the porch. Who would have thought that my best friend and his best friend were sister and brother and lived next door to me? We talked about the party. What we didn't talk about what was really on my mind. I didn't tell him that I didn't understand how Cookie could be his best friend. I didn't tell him about the cruel things Cookie did that my brother asked me not to tell. I didn't tell him about the screams of my best friend as she yelled, "No, Cookie, stop, Cookie," repeatedly. Stephen was a year ahead of me in school. We dated all through the years that he attended Kirkwood Junior and Senior High School in St. Louis County. I went to Catholic school and I had loads of homework. We would do our homework together. He participated in basketball, track and field, and football. At night, he would hang out at my house. Stephen's mom called our house almost every night. My mom answered the phone, and we could hear her say, "Yeah, I'm looking at him." Stephen got an athletic scholarship and went away to college. He and Cookie were roommates one semester. When Cookie was really good. He even held the Missouri State record for the triple jump in track and field. Stephen and I were no longer a couple, but we were still close friends. He even came to my wedding and told my new husband that he'd better be good to me. Upon college graduation, Stephen got drafted into the NFL. He played with O.J. Simpson and the Buffalo Bills, then went on to play with the Philadelphia Eagles. He got married and later moved back to St. Louis. He named his son Stephen. On a trip back to St. Louis on business, I invited friends and family to come to my hotel suite for a get-together. It was a challenge for me to go see everybody, so this way they could come and see me. Stephen came. One of my friend's mothers said to us, "You two were a cute couple. Why didn't you two get married?" Before I could say a word, Stephen jumped in. "My mother, she ran Madeline away, and then when we broke up, my mother asked me, 'Why did you let that one get away?' Madeline, I want you to know my mother was mean to all my girlfriends, even my wife." When we finally had time alone, Stephen told me that he still loved me and he wanted to thank me. Thank me for what? For making a difference in my life, for being my friend, for loving me. When I started dating you, you said, "Boy, I ain't got time to be messing around with you. I got homework to do." So I brought my books to your house and did homework. I never did homework before. The first year we dated, I won the Most Improved Student Award. Those good habits got me a full scholarship to college. You changed my life. Stephen kissed me on the cheek. He also told me that he had bone cancer and was undergoing dialysis. When he played football, he was built like the trunk of a sequoia tree. Now he looked like a small maple tree. We embraced and held each other like the first dance, keeping the threats of the outside world at bay. Years later, on February 7, 2008, I heard on the news that a gunman killed 5 people and wounded 2 others, including the mayor of Kirkwood, during a Kirkwood City Council meeting. I looked at the TV screen. The shooter was Cookie? The police shot and killed Cookie. Killed him too. Why would my childhood neighbor, Cookie, do such a thing? I called my sister who still lived in Kirkwood. She said she didn't know why he did it. And there was racial tension in the city. So I decided to call Stephen. Maybe he would know what made Cookie crumble. I dialed Stephen's home and his wife answered. She said, "Stephen is semi-conscious and isn't aware of anything. He doesn't have much time left." "Oh no," I told my husband, "I've got to go to St. Louis and see Stephen tomorrow. He's dying." When I arrived in Kirkwood, my sister and I drove to Stephen's home. His wife led us to his bedroom. We said a prayer for him and each kissed him on the forehead. As we left, I told his wife that I would write a poem for Stephen and email it to her. The next morning, I headed back to Chicago. Just as I arrived at my destination, I received a page message. Stephen had died that morning. It was February 10th, the same day my mother died 32 years ago. When she died, Stephen was there comforting me. The following day, I wrote this poem titled "Childhood Sweetheart" and emailed it to his wife. "Stephen Powell, my dear good friend, your bright inner light and toothy grin and that can-do attitude you wore is how I'll remember you evermore. I saw the boy grow into the man that I grew to love and understand. All the lives that you have touched also love you just as much. You were playful, fun, and down to earth, always eager to share your 2 cents worth. You applied yourself and improved your grades to earn a football scholarship, all expenses paid. You flipped burgers, pumped gas, and lubed cars before you became a professional football star. You enjoyed your sports, music, and dance. You could find humor in any circumstance. You joked your way through dialysis and cancer, all the while becoming a better golfer, talker, and dancer. You motivated other patients with your beautiful spirit. You could tell your story to anyone who would hear it. Your son, Stevie, and Sharon, your wife, were the most important folks in your life. With 25 years of marriage and fatherly pride, your spirit watches over them from the other side. Namaste.